Welcome to Lifestyles of the Strange and Exotic, Classic Star Trek Book Review. Now this is the second group of books in my little mini-series. And I'm just sort of going through, I started with my favorite ones, I'm kind of working my way down. Now, some of these, only one of these is an actual novel. The other ones are something everyone should have in their Star Trek collection. Now this first one, when you hear people say, wow, I couldn't put that book down, I always thought they were crazy. This book was actually true to that. Now, this I got at Walmart, obviously, for $5.97. And when did I get this? In 2005, copyright. So this is the newer ones. Now this is Star Trek To Reign in Hell by Greg Cox. And he's done other books. I don't know if they've all been Star Trek, but it goes New York Times best-selling author. And this is The Exile of Khan Noonien Singh. Now, I'm reading this book in, like, the first couple pages, and I'm like, why the hell hasn't anybody thought about this in, like, 30 years? Or maybe 20 at this point. Took them that long to write a book about the time after Space Seed to the time just before Kirk and company, basically after Space Seed, before Wrath of Khan. There's this, like, big chunk of very important Star Trek lore that has never been covered before until this book. And, I mean, I don't care for Khan, really. I mean, Khan's a bad guy, But I love Ricardo Montalban. And this is freaking amazing. I read this in one night. I'd read a little bit, and it's like, I gotta know what happens next. Pick it up, gotta do something else, gotta know what happens next. And it's just like, well, now it all makes sense, and you obviously go into more detail in Marla MacGyver's, life with Khan, and he's just he's like hyper passionate, I mean, he's nasty in Space Seed, but he passionately loved his wife, who would be Marla MacGyver's there. And you see what they do with the seedy eels, and there's different. And when they get to CD Alpha 5, it isn't the hellhole that it ends up in Khan. I forgot what the heck actually happens. That I think they even mentioned that in the movie, that it shifted its orbit or something. It becomes that as they are on there, and if that didn't happen, what the original plan probably would have worked. And I'll read you the back here. At last, the untold chapter in the history of Star Trek's most notorious villain, Khan. Searing and powerful, To Reign in Hell masterfully bridges the time period between Khan Noonien Singh's 23rd century revival in the original series, the classic episode Space Seed, and his unforgettable return in the acclaimed feature film Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan. Haunted by the memory of Khan's murderous campaign of vengeance, James T. Kirk now revisits the forbidden world of CD Alpha 5 to discover for himself what ultimately drove Khan to madness. There, buried beneath the desolate surface of a dying planet, Kirk and his allies find the untold story of their greatest foe, and the woman who loved him, Lieutenant Marla MacGyver of Starfleet. Along with Khan's genetically engineered followers from the 20th century, Khan and Marla are left on CD Alpha 5 with the hopes of building a new life together. Although the planet is savage and untamed, Khan dreams of carving out an empire even greater than the one he once ruled on Earth. But when global catastrophe strikes, Khan must use every ounce of his superhuman strength and intellect to wage a fearsome battle against the planet, his people, and the growing darkness within his own soul. Now, I actually forgot about the parts where Kirk goes back to CD Alpha 5. Must have been boring parts because I don't remember any of it. But when you're on the planet and you're going through Khan's life and what happens, well, obviously she's killed by the eels because you find that out in the movie. That, I think, is the biggest impact on Khan. On top of everything else he's been through. I mean, that, and when you find out how it actually happens, it's just, after a while you actually start sympathizing with the bastard, you know? It's like, you hate him, but you're like, you don't want to hate him at the same time. And you find out more about his people, and a little bit more about the eugenics wars that kind of created him. I mean, it's just a piece of the lore that you just have to know, you know? Let's see. Nope, this one doesn't give you a little snippet in the book, which is rather sad. And it's divided into different parts. 2287. Which, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, that'd be about the movie time, I think, because it's 2266 or something like that. And 5 planetary years later, epilogue. It's divided into different parts. I mean, I don't, and there's so much that I want to kind of like explain with that, but there's so much that you'd end up giving away in doing so. If you are a TOS fan, you have to have this book, because there's this gap in the lore that this book just covers, and covers well. It's not like, oh, well, he, you started a retirement home, and you know, it's not stupid. It all makes sense, and it fits into the lore perfectly. And it's exciting, and it's, you know, like, oh, that's how it happened, and it's like, they did what? And it's just surprising. It's literally a book you cannot put down. You will probably, if you're a reader like me, you'll be doing this in one day or two at tops. So, and this I found a few years ago in Walmart, like I said. But this one you definitely probably find online, because it's a newer book. So it's probably, what, 10 years old now, if that. See, I got it when... And, okay. He does do the eugenics wars. There's volumes 1 and 2 of the eugenics wars, which I have not picked up. And it's in the same series, The Exile of Khan Noonien Singh. And the eugenics wars is the rise and fall of Khan Noonien Singh. So, yeah, that should be good. I never got around to getting the books. But if they're anywhere near as awesome as this one, it's a series actually worth the investment. And again, that in itself is a whole chunk of history, how everything happened. I wish I'd give you a little snippet. Well, I'll give you a little piece of the book, just randomly, beginning of chapter 5. Strident shouts and cries woke Khan in the middle of the night. Instantly alert, he sprang to his feet, phaser in hand. His eyes scanned the enclosure, discovering a sense of utter tumult and chaos. The sleeping camp was now a jumble of confused and agitated people, all speaking and shouting at once. Shots were fired by one or more of the Botany Bay's precious 20th century rifles. But what exactly was being shot at Khan could not immediately determine. "Khan, what is it?" Marla asked from the primitive bed, where only moments before she had lain nestled within Khan's arms. He heard alarm, but not panic in her voice. "What's happening?" "I do not know," he said grimly. He handed her a knife that he had providentially set aside their blankets. "Stay here." It's a tiny one. So yeah, I mean, it pretty much goes from bad to worse to horrible. I mean, and you do kind of feel for Khan in a way. That he's not necessarily evil. I mean, he's evil to a certain standard. Oops. But he's also got good qualities you almost admire. And you see that even in Space Seed. I mean, Ricardo Montalban just brought so much to, like, what would have been an insignificant character, but he's such an icon in the lore, you know? So, definitely worth it. And Pocketbooks is still around, okay. And this Pocketbooks published this, and it's To Reign in Hell, The Exile of Khan Noonien Singh. Check it out. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe for more book reviews. comment down below. And if you've read the book, I'd love to hear your opinions on it too, and any of my reviews. If you've read the book, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. And thank you all for watching. See you in the next review.